Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. I wanted to make a quick video today about something that I've already talked about over my TikTok, but I wanted to reiterate it over here because I know everybody is not on TikTok or won't, go and watch that video. And my explanation to what I think is the broader meaning or the deeper meaning behind the Trilogy project really gives insight into why I feel the way I feel about a lot of my theories. I want to talk about how everyone has been saying that the Trilogy project is about reclaiming Black genres. And while I do agree with that to a certain extent, I do think that that is just a portion. And in reality, the trilogy is a lot more personal and meaningful to Beyonce's life than people may be realizing. And I started noticing it whenever I was picking up on clues during Cowboy Carter for something else. And I realized that there was this reoccurring theme of masculinity within the Cowboy Carter album. Now, I want to be clear that when I say masculinity and femininity, I'm not just talking about gender, I'm also talking about energy. And so going into looking at Cowboy Carter with that lens, I noticed just straight off the bat, it starts with the name of the album. Instead of naming it Cowgirl Carter, which Beyonce is a woman, she names it Cowboy Carter, right? And then we get these nouns, pronouns, and adjectives that describe a more masculine energy, and I'm saying that in the traditional sense of what society considers masculine. So like protector, tyrant, hangman, bodyguard. Masculine energy is supposed to be the protector. It's supposed to be the bodyguard. She released Whiskey, and in her interview talking about Sir Davis, she talked about being a woman in a male-dominated space, not just music, but also in alcohol. And she talked about how whiskey is considered more of a manly drink or a masculine drink. In Daughter, she talks about being just like her father. In Protector, she talks about seeing her kids' face in their father's eyes, in their father's gaze. Sir Davis is named after her grandfather. There's all of this nod to masculinity and specifically Beyonce's paternal lineage. Even in Yaya, and in a lot of the pictures that we got later from the tour book and the art book, we see Beyonce address the spelling of her last name. Beyonce's grandfather, Beyonce, Boyance, it has all of those different spellings because of racism. Even Beyonce choosing to do GQ, a men's magazine, for part of the rollout for Cowboy Carter. And I even picked up on this little, I don't know if you want to call it a hint, a clue, or just like a little thing that Beyonce was doing. And it's funny because people kept saying, why does Beyonce keep wearing all these glasses? Do the glasses mean something? Is she coming out with the glasses line? And I started realizing that her glasses were mimicking the glasses of the men around her. So she wore these glasses that looked like Matthew's glasses with the blazer that Matthew's always wearing. She wore those thinner glasses that looked like Loomis's glasses, her grandfather. She wore the sunglasses, the aviators, because Jay is always wearing aviators. She even does a little lip thing like Jay does. And at one point, even the song My Rose was called My Sir after her son. And then, of course, Rumi's on the album because they're twins. I also started to go through Beyonce's interviews and some of the lyrics, and I realized that this word kept coming up over and over again, and the word is legacy. Beyonce kept talking about her legacy and talking about what she wants to leave behind, what she wants to be remembered for. She's been doing it since at least Black is King, and I think that Beyonce is at a place not only in her career, but in her life as a person where she's getting older, her parents are getting older. Both of her parents had some very serious health scares within the last couple of years, and her kids are getting older, and she's sort of getting in that mindset, in that mind frame of like, okay, what's important to me? What do I want to leave behind? What do I want to be remembered for? And ancestral veneration has been something that's been a part of Beyonce's career, almost her whole career, right? So we even go back to like House of Darion, which was named after her grandmother and inspired by her grandmother's style. Now we have Davis Hoke, her grandfather. Beyonce's constantly making sure that her family lineage goes down in history, doesn't be forgotten, that no matter what, you remember her family, you remember her family and what they've contributed to the world. Once I got to that conclusion, I started to question, okay, as Beyonce is doing ancestral veneration, is this project is about Beyonce and her life, her career, her family? If Cowboy Carter was all about her paternal lineage, is it that the next act will be about her maternal lineage? Because when we go back to Renaissance, Renaissance is what I consider a non-binary album, right? You have a lot of you have a lot of androgynous energy in the album. And even that album is dedicated to a family member, her Uncle Johnny. And her Uncle Johnny was a man, a gay man who existed in a feminine energy. And then you have a trans woman on the album like T.S. Madison. You have an androgynous person on the album like Grace Jones, who is a woman but embodies a lot of androgyny and masculine energies. The album is also kind of like a love letter to the LGBT community, sort of like it's everything and everyone all at once. So if we got everything in Renaissance, we got masculinity in Cowboy Carter, femininity would be last. It would be next. It would be the only thing that's missing. And if you have seen any of my videos on TikTok, you know that I've talked about the order in which I believe that the trilogy acts were supposed to go originally before Beyonce switched things up because of COVID. And I do believe that Act 3 could have been Act 2. Recently, I'm starting to feel like it could have even been Act 1. And it was supposed to fall in line with certain themes, like Mama Tina's book coming out and that sort of thing. But that didn't happen. So that is what I'm thinking. And another thing that I noticed is that Beyonce has been talking and showing all of her career in childhood, right? We have like the memories interlude in Cowboy Carter where it starts with her singing I Want to Be Where You Are. And it goes through that really fast collage of all of these moments in her career. The same thing was in Renaissance, so much so that it's making people feel like she could be retiring. I'm not going to lie, for a moment, I felt like that too. Like, okay, what's she doing here? Especially with songs like 16 Carriages, where she's sort of like reminiscing on her career. And it starts to feel like, okay, why she's doing that. But I actually have a new opinion on why I think she's doing this, and I'll go into that at a later time. But going back to her just reflecting on her whole career, you know, when we talk about the feminine energy, Beyonce is included in that. And that even goes to my prediction about Act 3 having a lot of the same themes as Self-Titled, where Self-Titled was when she was going through a new phase in her life and becoming a mother. And she talked a lot about how she was looking at the world in a different lens now that she's a mother, and how she has felt more confident as a woman, and she even looked at womanhood differently. And I feel like Beyonce now coming into a new decade of her life could be going through that again. Now she's sort of becoming the matriarch of her family as her mom gets older, and she has daughters now that are getting older. And so I do think that this is going to be a love letter to the feminine energy. And what I even think more specifically in the theme of Act 3 is that it's going to be a love letter to Black American women, the way that Renaissance was a letter to the Black LGBTQ community. And with her, you know, with her showing love to her grandfathers and Black cowboys, you know, Cowboy Carter could even be seen as a love letter to Black men in a different type of way. I think that we're going to get that again, but just feminine. And I also think it's interesting that recently she name dropped Agnes Darion, her mom's mom, one of her interviews, and I don't think that that was for nothing. And going back to the glasses, I think that we could even see her starting to dress like Mama Tina. I think that we could see Blue dressing like her. I think she may even dress like Solange or do her hair or makeup like Solange at some point. Same thing with Kelly, because I do think she is going to include Kelly and even Michelle into that feminine energy. And to tie it back in again to my theory that Act 3 could be that old Hollywood 40s or 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe even 20s theme. Agnes Darion, that's her time in life, right? And House of Darion was influenced by Agnes's style and the time period that she grew up in. And so I think that if she's using Agnes as inspiration again, that could be why she's using that time period. All right, well, this is all I have for this video. I'm going to be rolling out videos probably every day, if not 2-3 times a day. So the next video should be my full prediction video, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and give me your thoughts and opinions on what you think the deeper meaning of the Trilogy Act is. See you guys next video.